rocket. They looking for the what? They looking for the rocket. Oh, Harlem niggas snitching, toting guns. They ain't never pop it. Us came down with the motherfucking rocket. Us. I dropped 50 on a necklace. Drop a 4, not a 2. In the big blue. Switch it up. Drop a check on your new coupe. Leave you dirty. I whip a body. I wake up to money. I count it early. Look at my wrist. I'm Max Lorry. In my own way with them Benjamins. Niggas, they was hating. I was cashing in bang. I did it fast. Don't cross the line. Standing in the kitchen, go crazy. Bubble pack, I go crazy. You fooling around in the ladies. 50-hour show, gotta pay me. Black and white M's, they segregated. Go ahead, got that 100 off racks. You reach for the chain, you get whacked. I woke up, was dreaming of sex. I got the white like a tic-tac. I move the bricks to the bando like oh. Diamonds on my wrist, and it look like glue. Diamonds on my wrist, and it look like glue. Walk in the club, and I flex like ooh. Walk in the club, and I flex like ooh. Mass Majala all over my shoe. Pull up, serving in the coupe. Made a couple bands in the kitchen. Made a couple bands, what do we do? Take a nigga bitch, go. Niggas got shot on the field. Don't need the mask or back to back Lambos, repeat it. You like to run when it's
Let's face it, swamps are pretty ominous. Even without any history of unsavory incidents or cryptids, these damp, gloomy places just seem to inspire dread in anyone who looks upon them. But as you'll soon see, sometimes there's more to be afraid of than merely the murky waters threatening to swallow all who dare enter them, or the glowing eyes that appear to follow you from between every tree. From eerie dolls with mysterious secrets to legendary creatures of the swamps of South Carolina, here are some terrifying things found in swamps. Chucky's sisters. In October 2014, when Chief Deputy Joe Sedinger caught a brief glimpse of what looked like a couple of porcelain dolls while passing the highway-side swamplands of Bear Creek Swamp, Alabama, he paid little mind. It was only when, a couple of days later, he began receiving calls from freaked-out locals complaining about those very Everglade discovery. In October 2020, snake hunters Ryan Osborne and Kevin Pavlidis got ready for a hard day's work of tracking and capturing Burmese pythons around Florida's Everglades wetlands. The species, which became established in Florida as a result of escaped and released pets, has no natural predators in the area and has in recent years skyrocketed in population, decimating indigenous plant and animal species. Ryan and Kevin knew that if they managed to catch even a single one, they could reel in up to $150 as a reward. Easy money if you've got the stones for the job. Ryan and Kevin were hunting along the L28 tieback, a canal about 35 miles west of Miami, when just before midnight they spotted an incredibly long female snake slinking through the swampy waters. Kevin, who had never seen a snake as big, couldn't stop his hands from shaking as they waded in after it. Careful not to spook the snake by splashing too much, Ryan secured its tail, while Kevin tried to get its head under control. The snake immediately started to writhe, and it took the pair's full strength to keep the python from breaking free and potentially wrapping itself around one of them. Finally, once they managed to pull the slippery beast out of the canal, Ryan and Kevin took a moment to bask in its mammoth size. When they had it weighed, the snake came in at a whopping 104 pounds, and with measurements of 18 feet and 9 inches, it snatched the world record for being the longest Burmese python ever caught in Florida. As impressive and horrifying as that is, the record-breaking python is actually only one of 5,000 Burmese pythons removed from the Everglades between 2017 and 2020. So next time you find yourself splashing around in the swamps and marshes of Florida, if you feel something large, mean, and scaly brush your feet, it might not be a gator. The Whistler. When he was 8 years old, Reddit user BingBong1234 loved to take late-night walks with his mom and their family dog. The streets were pretty quiet most of the time, what with their neighborhood being located on the suburban fringes of Lansing, Michigan, and bordering a gloomy swamp. On one particular evening at around 11 p.m., as Bing Bong and his mom were walking along the edge of the swamp, an eerie noise echoed through the air. Whistling. At first, the Redditor thought it was a bird, but something about it made it sound distinctively human-like. But who could be lurking in the dark depths of the swamp alone at this time of night? The whistle's pitch continued to rise and fall, and as it did, Bing Bong's mom grew visibly concerned. She grabbed the Redditor's hand and made them return home immediately, without ever explaining why. And at 8 years old, Bing Bong didn't really think about asking. 2 years passed, and with the incident lost at the back of his mind, the Redditor decided to take his dog out again one night, only this time by himself. He finished the walk without much trouble, but just as he passed one particular spot at the swamp's edge, he heard it again. The whistle. As soon as it reached his ears, a chill traveled down his spine. Bing Bong immediately returned home and made sure never to pass that spot in the dark again. For more than a decade, he actually succeeded in avoiding the whistler's clutches, until one foggy night when he was 24 years old. Having recently moved from Michigan to South Dakota, Bing Bong and his girlfriend decided to spend Independence Day camping along the bank of the Missouri River, where they could relax and watch the fireworks. For the festivities, the police had cleared the river of any boats, so the Redditor, being a videographer, decided to seize the opportunity and film the calm, empty waters for a bit. Only it appeared not all the boats had obeyed the no-boating order. Somewhere on the shadowy lake, the Redditor heard the unmistakable sound of a paddle methodically dipping in and out of the water. He squinted into the growing darkness and could just make out a figure steering a canoe about 65 feet offshore. Brushing it off, Bing Bong continued to film the lake until suddenly he heard something that left him frozen, riddled with goosebumps. A slow whistling. The exact same whistle he had heard all those years ago. Unable to make out the whistler's face in the dark, Bing Bong tried to be rational about the whole thing. It couldn't possibly be the same whistler, right? Well, what happened next only convinced him more. As the whistler lined up with Bing Bong on the lake, they stopped paddling, turned to face him, and let out their signature sound once more. Moments passed, and the whistler didn't move a muscle. Only when the Redditor stood up and shouted straight at them, asking who they were, did they turn and paddle out of sight. It was too dark for Bing Bong to capture much of the actual person in the canoe, but he did manage to film their whistle before they entirely disappeared. Take a listen.
Are you whistling? Is it you?
Pretty creepy, right? Was it all just a coincidence? Or had the whistler, whoever or whatever they were, followed the Redditor all the way from Michigan? To this day, Bing Bong absolutely hates going out into the dark, afraid he might encounter the whistler again. With whistling demonic entities being a recurring theme as harbingers of death in several folkloric legends around the world, his fear is certainly understandable. But what do you think? Should we all be keeping an ear out for the whistler? Or is Bing Bong paranoid? Or worse, lying for internet points? Let me know in the comments. Bishopville Lizard Man. At 2 a.m. on June 29, 1988, 17-year-old Christopher Davis was driving home from work in Bishopville, South Carolina, when he blew a tire along the edge of Scape Ore Swamp. Christopher got out of the car to change the tire when he heard what sounded like someone running, getting louder and louder. Then, suddenly, from the darkness, it emerged. A 7-foot-tall humanoid creature with blazing red eyes, green, scaly skin, and long black claws. Christopher jumped into his car for safety, but the lizard-like creature attacked it, ripping off the mirror and gouging the roof. Unable to get inside, the creature grew tired and scampered off, leaving Christopher alive to tell the tale. This was the account the 17-year-old immediately gave to the Lee County Sheriff's Department, who didn't exactly take him all that seriously. That was until the lizard man struck again. Over the course of the summer, more cars, most of them vacant thankfully, were attacked in the vicinity of Scape Ore Swamp. Police arrived time and again to find fenders ripped off, antennas bent, and deep scratches along the bodies of the cars. Pretty soon, more people reported seeing an enormous, scaly man lurking in the swampland, and the media absolutely lapped these stories up. The local radio station, WCOS, even offered a $1 million reward to anyone able to capture the creature alive. However, as winter arrived, sightings of the lizard man came to a stop. Its summertime reign of terror was seemingly over, though the legendary figure made brief reappearances throughout the passing decades, with occasional sightings and a smattering of vehicle attacks being reported, always within the vicinity of Bishopville's swamplands. Visitors to Scape Ore Swamp are encouraged to remain vigilant even today, just in case the Bishopville lizard man decides to show its face. So, if you're ever in the area, you better keep an eye out. Whether the lizard man is real or just a prank-loving teenager in a costume, or even some kind of deformed alligator, encountering it unprepared definitely doesn't seem like fun. Before we wade into the murky waters of our next terrifying swamp discovery, why not take a moment to give this video a thumbs up? And don't forget to subscribe to be amazed so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Now, I hope you've got your rain boots on because things are about to get muddy. Frozen in time. In spring 2012, the tourists of Sene, a nature reserve in France, were horrified when two incredibly creepy figures appeared seemingly out of nowhere in the swampy marshlands one day. The creatures were pale, thin, and slender, and appeared to be frozen in time. And just as quickly as they appeared, the creatures vanished again. That was until in July 2016. They returned, only this time with 6 more friends. So where did the statuesque creatures come from, and what were they doing in the wetlands of France? Well, as real as the creatures seemed, they were in fact designed and handmade by French sculptor and artist Sofia Prestigiacomo to reflect humankind's oftentimes complicated relationship with nature. Each of the figures are modeled on iron structures with mud and algae, which, after being left to dry, takes on a skin-like appearance. Over time, as the figures slowly started to decompose, this replicated skin changed both color and texture, allowing the figures to eventually blend in with the organic landscape. Even though there's certainly an unsettling, cryptid-like appearance to the design of Sophie's swamp creatures, their shifting nature does give them a certain beauty. That is, if you find loose flaps of swamp water-addled skin attractive. Swamp Sirens. Shortly after joining the military, Reddit user HK Fook got deployed on a 2 to 4 week field exercise in the swamps of the southern United States. On his 6th night in the swamp, the Redditor and his squad were just dozing off when a spine-chilling sound echoed from somewhere in the woods. It sounded like a mix between a roar and a scream, like no animal any of them had ever heard before. They all darted upright, and as they did, the entire surrounding swamp went quiet. The frogs stopped croaking, the crickets stopped chirping. The only sound that remained was the screaming, which continued to grow louder. Moments passed before suddenly, strange lights started to appear in the distance. The Redditor had enough. Thinking it was just someone playing a joke, he and 2 other soldiers headed toward the lights, while the rest stayed behind at camp. But the farther HK walked, he realized the lights weren't getting any closer, and the ground was starting to get too boggy to navigate. In a way, he felt like they were being put in a trance, lured toward the lights like sailors being ensnared by sirens. This unsettled HK so much that he stopped the other soldiers in their tracks, and the 3 of them immediately turned back. Only less than 20 feet away, the ear-splitting roar once again echoed out from the darkness in the waterlogged area of the swamp they'd just been retreating from. The soldiers turned and watched in fear as the distant lights traveled higher and higher, like someone scaling a tree at lightning pace. But just like that, the lights and the roar both vanished, and the usual background noise slowly returned to the swamp. With no rational explanation as to what had happened, all the soldiers could do was try to go back to sleep. Except, HK couldn't put the incident out of his mind. When he checked a map of the area on a later occasion, he noticed that the lights had been in a part of the swamp that, after the heavy rains they had experienced at the time, would have been inaccessible to humans. So, what was it that roamed the dark that night? If paranormal explanations float your swamp boat, one explanation might be some will-o-wisps, ghost lights from both English and European folklore that are allegedly seen by travelers at night, especially over bogs and swamps.
Ten, 10 different exotic cars, how we sleep. Meet me in the channel in the back. We going big. I've been getting NBA money, Jason Kidd. I just charged the whole damn M for a gig, and I got the nitro for a pick. I'ma make it back when you see it. You can call the knocks. I ain't quitting. Diamonds in the face, crushed up. You can see it. Bust down my Swiss watch. I'm third off.
All right, time to see what's in this swamp. Whoa, this mud is thick, but I'm going through.
Oh, you made it. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. I love you all, and I'll miss you. Goodbye for now.